Let's rebuild the New Orleans Saints. The Saints have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I kid you not. Calvin Banks is a stud, rookie tackle out of Texas. Tulisa Fuaga, second-year player last year, going into his third year this year, stud. Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, studs. Juwan Johnson, good tight end. Chris Olave, all-pro. Tyler Shuck, seems like the real deal. This offense is good. They're a wide receiver 2 away. They can maybe use a running back. I still believe in Kamara and then Devin Neal, Kendre Miller. If Kendre Miller can stay healthy, that's more than serviceable for the Saints team next year. I don't think they need to draft Jeremiah Love, which everybody has them mocking. They have too many needs on the defensive side of the ball, and I think I'd rather have Mekhi Lemon if I'm the Saints than Jeremiah Love or a Jordan Tyson or a Carnell Tate, whichever receiver you like the most at 8. If he's there, if these other defensive players, we'll get into their draft strategy later. But let's talk about free agency first. They're $41 million over the cap. And unlike a lot of these teams that I've recapped so far, they don't have a lot of convertible money. And what I mean by convertible money is what you can do is if you're over the cap, you can convert a lot of player contracts, what their salary would be for this league year. You can convert that to signing bonus, and it frees up a bunch of cap for this active league year. It just adds more dead cap in the years prior, in like 6-7 years. So when you see teams that are over the cap, most of the time they just need to account. They just need to sign some checks and get these guys paid early instead of on a weekly game check basis, and they can free up as much cap space as they want, and they'll just hit them in the dead cap later on in future years. But the Saints, they can convert Cesar Ruiz, Carl Granderson, Chase Young, Eric McCoy's, and Alvin Kamara's contracts this season, all to signing bonuses, and they'll still be over the cap. So there's not going to be any big free agency signings. The Saints aren't going to be a team that attacks free agency. They need to build through the draft. However, there are some players I think they can attack that are on the cheaper end that can fill in some potential holes on the defensive side of the ball, because they are losing their 2 leading tacklers, Cam Jordan their leading sack guy, Cam Jordan, and their 2 leading tacklers to free agency, Demario Davis and Alontae Taylor. And Alontae Taylor leading the team in tackles is probably not a good thing because that guy's a corner. So he stinks anyway. They might get better by replacing Alontae Taylor in free agency. Koy McKinstry's a good player. Chase Young's a good player. They have good players on the defensive side of the ball, but losing those 2 guys, especially Demario Davis and Cam Jordan, can be a real issue. And you're not going to find a whole lot with the small amount of cap space that, if any, that they'll have to work with in free agency. So here are some like low budget guys I think they can attack at the wide receiver 2 position, the linebacker position, and the corner position. I think Tyler Lockett, Dyami Brown, Josh Reynolds, DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, Dyami Brown could literally be the wide receiver 2 over Devon Vele or Mason Tipton. Like I don't know what they're going to do at wide receiver 2 position. I really don't. But I think these guys are some decent shouts. A replacement at the cheap at the linebacker position could be like a Jerome Baker, KJ Britt, Denzel Perryman, Micah McFadden. This is like $1 to $2 to $3 million per year range. That's where they have to operate because they're in such cap hell, and they can't just convert every single contract because then they'll just stay in cap hell, which the Saints have been in cap hell for the last 15 years, it feels like. But either way, those are some guys that I would target for the cheap linebacker depth spot. And then I think some of these corners, especially, like they just fill Alontae Taylor. Dory Jackson is Alontae Taylor, a really fast player, fucking gets burnt all the time, and good tackle. That's literally just a Dory Jackson. But for like that's Alontae Taylor, just 3 years older, $6 million per year cheaper. And then Jason Pinnock, Benjamin St-Juste, James Pierre are some guys that I think you could get for $1 to $2 million that aren't garbage, complete and utter garbage, but serviceable Alontae Taylor type of players, just way cheaper. Just really, these are just fast corners. I'm just naming fast corners. That's what I'm doing. I'm naming fast corners. So these are some cheap depth signings that I think the Saints should make. They're not going to be able to make any real splash moves. And Chris Olave is due for an extension this year. So I think they're going to have to extend him. They're $40 million in cap space. Like I said earlier, they could convert all of those players' salaries that I named this season into signing bonus, and they'd still be over the cap. So they're in cap hell more than any team I've done so far this year. But they have an opportunity. They have 3 picks in the top 75, and they have 2 fourth-round picks. I think they have a chance in the early second round to also. I think there's some real good young defensive players that are going to be in that range in the 208, which is like what, in the 37, 38 range, low 40 range that they'll be picking in the second round that they could really attack. And I'm talking Zion Young, the edge from Mizzou, or D'Angelo Pons, who is a guy that I have fallen in love with in this draft process. I really have. That's where the Saints should go in the second round. If in the first round at 108, one of these 4 defenders are not there. I think it's 4. Yeah. Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Caleb Downs. If one of those 4 guys is there, the Saints should take them, no questions asked. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. So Mendoza is going 1. The Jets are definitely going defense at 2. They're going to need, I need to get the order in front of me. The Saints are going to need the Cardinals to go tackle. They're going to need Tennessee, New York, Cleveland, or Washington. They're going to need Cleveland to go receiver. Washington and New York have to go defense. So that is 1, 2, 3 of the 4 defensive. Those are the 4 best defensive players in the draft that I named. Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, David Bailey. They're going to need like the Titans to maybe go receiver, or the Titans to go O-line as well. So if you are a Saints fan, you want one of those 4 defensive players that I named. You're going to have to pay really close attention to Arizona and Tennessee. You're going to need those 2 guys to go offense. The Jets are going defense. The Giants are going defense. You're going to want Cleveland to go receiver. Washington's going defense as well. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 defensive players. Between Washington, the Giants, and the Jets. You need Arizona, Tennessee, and Cleveland to go offense, and then the Saints are getting a blue chip defensive player. If those 4 guys are off the board, I think 1 receiver at least will be off the board, whether it's Cleveland or Washington, they could use, or Tennessee. Like there's teams that need receivers. If you're at 8, those 4 defenders are off the board. Don't go Jeremiah Love. Don't go Jeremiah Love. You could literally replace Demario Davis in 2 seconds if you take Sonny Styles. Seriously, like Sonny Styles is sideline to sideline, fast, physical, good in coverage, sideline to sideline. Said that already, but still, like you could replace Demario Davis, not to the production that you're going to get out of a 13-year All-Pro, right? But you can replace him because that's what Sonny Styles' ceiling will be. Take him at 8. Or if those 4 defenders are gone, but all 3 receivers are still on the board, not even, I think these 3 are so interchangeable. Like, I wouldn't, like, if I'm the Saints, I don't hate putting Jordan Tyson on the other side of Chris Olave one bit. I don't hate putting Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon on the other side of Chris Olave one bit. And then this offense, Tyler Shough, Mekhi Lemon / Carnell Tate / Jordan Tyson, Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, Jawan Johnson, one of the best D-lines, offensive lines in football, and let's fucking go. And then in the second round, we got to be thinking, second and third round, we got to be thinking Jacob Rodriguez. We got to be thinking Messidor in the second round, D'Angelo Pons in the second round, Zion Young in the second round. Like, there's players, like, this is a deep defensive class, especially at linebacker position, where I talk about every episode, the linebacker, off-ball linebacker class. So if they want to replace Demario Davis, they can do that in later rounds. Obviously not to the level of Demario, but I'm telling you, they can get a guy in the later rounds that can be a serviceable middle linebacker in this league. Look what Carson Schwarzenegger was last year for Cleveland in the second round. So I think you can find that in the later rounds if you don't want to take Sonny Styles early. And if one of those 4 defenders is gone, just go receiver here. Just go receiver at 8. And just really load up on weapons for Kellen Mond. Shout out Kellen Mond, Browns legend, Notre Dame legend. Then Kellen Moore can really work with. And let Tyler Shough really, really step into his zone here while you have him on a rookie contract. And then, yeah, extend Chris Olave should be number 1 priority as well. You want to pay your studs early. The sooner you pay your good players, the less you have to pay them. So you should pay Chris Olave as soon as you can. But yeah, that's what I would do if I was rebuilding the New Orleans Saints this offseason. I think you should be optimistic if you're a Saints fan. Like, the offensive line is set. The quarterback is good. The defense is better than a lot of people give it credit for last year, although you're losing a lot of key pieces. But you have assets. You have good draft capital. You don't have assets in the money market. The worst, they're in financial hell out of it. The worst financial team I've seen so far in this series, easily. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on YouTube if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you agree, disagree, if you think I'm a clown. I'll talk to you guys later. If you're watching on Spotify, listen on Spotify, go follow the TikTok. Get in these TikTok lives.